So welcome to another episode of Men Able Matters with me, Steve Whitten. Now, my guest today came to me in a rather unusual way, and that is that I was actually a speaker on an event not that long ago, and we connected off the back of that through LinkedIn, and we've had a couple of chats since then, and I am delighted to be welcoming Carola Becker. How are you?
I'm really well this morning. Thank you very much, Stephen, for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Now, I should have said in all of that intro that you are a nutritionist, and you corrected me on the correct pronunciation of that. You're also a fitness instructor and you're a speaker and presenter yourself. So I'll tell you what, in good old Men Able fashion, give us a little bit of a run through of who you are, where you're from and what you do. If you can want to make that last about 20 minutes, that'd be brilliant.
Okay, absolutely. I'll try my very best.
Yeah, I was joking on that bit.
That's okay. Good morning, everybody. Lovely, or whenever you listen to this.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally timeless podcast.
Exactly. Timeless podcast. My name is Carola Becker. You hear by the time I say hello that I'm not a native speaker. I'm actually German, living in the UK for the last 13 years already. And really loving it here. I'm based in Exeter and in London, so I'm going back and forth on a regular basis, but my home is in the lovely countryside of Devon. And I'm here to help you feel better, think better, and live healthier without any preaching, because that's a little bit of the problem with nutrition. That was healthy eating and people with their halos, you know. But I think the nice thing about nutrition and lifestyle is there's absolutely no extremism needed, and definitely no diets. Please do not follow a diet.
Oh, I'm up for that. I'm up for that, especially fad diets as well, the ones that come and go and, fashionable and so on. Now, this is the whole nutrition thing is a fascinating subject. And obviously Men Able Matters is predominantly aimed at people who work in the automotive sector.
Yes.
And I know, having grown up in that industry, that the sort of common theme is, lots of sort of fairly fast food that's grabbed on the hoof because of the hours and the pressures of what you're working to. So I'm hoping that you're going to help us with some hints and tips around how we can improve that a little bit. So
absolutely.
And I should just say as well, by the way, as you know, I said it just before we started recording, that I had a couple of glasses of wine last night. which always gives me a little bit of a croaky voice for some reason. So you can offer me some help and support and hints and tips on that as well. Not a problem. It's only 2 glasses, just before anyone casts any aspersions.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I will say a word about alcohol towards the end.
Okay, cool. That'd be good. Yeah, I'm ready to take notes.
Yes, please do. But I think in my work with corporates and organizations, because I create well-being concepts for people to help leaders and staff to increase not only the way they work, but the way they think. And I call it mental fitness, because mental well-being is obviously such a major thing, not only over the last 15 months where everybody went through a lot of changes and a lot of challenges. It's just about making or taking little steps towards a healthier way of life. And I know sometimes that feels so weird, but and sometimes it feels difficult, but it's definitely not that. We're getting there when we are taking small steps. Would you mind sharing with your audience why nutrition and mental health is so closely related and what it means to me personally?
Oh no, absolutely, yeah, 100%. Because and I've got a vested interest in this as well. My eldest son has Crohn's disease.
Okay. Wow.
And of course, that's an illness that's very much affected by diet as well as mental health.
Yes.
And the two are inextricably linked. And even after having it for 10 years, 2 years ago, he said, I think I've realized the effect that this has all had on my sort of mental health and my state of mind. So I 100%, I'm with you on that. There is definitely a link. So Yeah,
Yeah.
over to you. What what can we do about that?
What's the story?
Mm,
Yes. So my passion has always been the brain, its
mhm,
health and its performance. Because the
mm,
people who work with me always, they say, well, we are stressed, and how can we influence, and how can we live better and make better decisions and that sort of thing. Um, but it was a few years ago when I met the most inspiring person. Her name is, her name was, I have to say, I'm getting to that in a second, Jill Hayes.
mm.
She's a TEDx speaker. She was a suicide survivor and a mental health advocate. She was absolutely amazing and really inspiring lady. Jill and I talked about how can I support her important work. And I started to look beyond the brain as simply an organ that helps us working better and thinking sharper and creating business ideas and that sort of thing. Because there's so much more than only cognitive performance, how focused you are and how well you do your job. We have known for quite a while that there are several nutrients that actually support mental well-being, mood, and can even be used in combination with conventional medication to support patients suffering from anxiety or even depression. And I'm honored to have worked with Jill at a number of speaking events before she sadly lost her fight with her depression and committed suicide. And since then, mental well-being has become a completely different topic to me. Because even when we're thinking of stress, which has almost become the norm with many people, scientific research confirms that stress is one of the triggers for depression. It's just step one on a downward spiral,
Yeah, yeah. No, I
if you
totally
think.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah. And but always when I'm asked to help a leadership team developing coping mechanisms for stress, we almost always end up discussing mental well-being too.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So what can we do? We can do a lot. The best news is that we are not helpless. But in terms of nutrition and lifestyle, the timing is important. One of the things which I liked so much about your talk, Stephen, is when you were focusing on this level between 1 and 10, where you say it's important to interact and to get people on a when they are on a stage from 1 to 7, because
Mm-hmm.
when we're looking at mental health first aiders, which are really important, no doubt about it, but they're always coming in at a stage 8, 9, or 10
Mm-hmm.
when it can be too late.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always, my favorite example is magnesium. I get to magnesium in a second. So for example, cashew nuts contain quite a lot of magnesium,
Mm-hmm.
and so do almonds. And you're telling me, oh, Carol, I'm really stressed. What can I do? And I say, well, have a handful of cashew nuts. Obviously, this will not help you. But if you're telling me now that Q4 is always super stressful in your business, and it's now September, and I said, well, we can increase the magnesium in your diet. I guarantee that you will get through your next stressful situation a little bit easier and a little bit quicker if your magnesium levels are higher now and you prepare your body for a stressful situation.
That's a really good tip, because obviously we've got the autumn and winter coming up as well, so that's
Yeah.
important. So what's the kind of so Dr. Carola, what's the what's the typical daily dose then of a handful of cashew nuts
Um,
or almonds?
yeah, there thankfully there are more foods which contain magnesium. So for example, a handful of cashew nuts or almonds
Mm.
is a great start. You can find magnesium, for example, in all green leafy vegetables. So if you like spinach, no matter if raw in a salad or cooked with a piece of salmon or something, a good handful of green leafy vegetables per day
Mm.
is another great way to increase your magnesium.
Wow.
So that's one of the first ones. But there are lots of strategies in terms of food and lifestyle. There's a lot more. So
Well, a friend of mine said to me the other day, because I sort of mentioned that I always have a glass of milk before I go to bed. Um, they
Protein.
well, they took the mickey out of me and said it was like a really kind of childish sort of habit, and I said, yeah, no, it probably is more psychological than anything,
Um,
um, but they
Funnily enough,
suggested almond
it's
milk.
um, well, the what really helps, and actually the glass of milk before you go to bed is one of those childhood things our mums and our grandmoms always told us to, and
Yeah.
there's actually something to it. It's the protein and the calcium which supports you, because calcium works together with magnesium.
Mm.
That's one of the supportive nutrients, and that really calms you down. Let me start with another one before I come to magnesium, because the other very important communication which is going on constantly, and you know that from your son, is the gut. Because the communication between our central nervous system and the gut is a very important one. Basically,
Yeah.
if your gut is happy, your brain is happy, and the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So we can help our digestive system, which means we are helping our brain automatically at the
Yeah,
same time.
totally
So
get that.
yeah. So if we're looking at probiotics on the one hand and prebiotics on the other hand, those are the two cornerstones of gut health.
Mm.
So probiotics are the live bacteria which can improve or restore your gut flora. So you can simply take in fermented foods like yogurt or kimchi or kombucha, for example. But if you think that this is an acquired taste, especially when we're coming to sauerkraut, I have to mention that because I'm German, it may not be what you have on top of the favorite foods. You can take probiotics as a supplement, which are really helpful. But then the next step is increasing prebiotics, because prebiotics are the fibers that keep your gut bacteria healthy, because they feed them. And bacteria, just like people, we love to be fed. It's just as easy as that.
Yeah.
And prebiotics are really available in everyday foods. Leeks, asparagus, oats and apples, chia seeds and flax seeds, for example. Those are the foods that really keep your gut bacteria happy. And that's a really interesting one. A recent study showed that a 3-week probiotic treatment with a supplement can restore your microbiota and reduce levels of depression, stress, and anxiety. Isn't that awesome? You're helping your gut and you're feeling less stressed.
I can't help feeling that there's this is the stuff of the enlightened. And I'll tell you why I say that, because in the automotive industry, as I said, I've had many years of working in environments where you're working extremely long hours. It's very pressurized. As we record this, it's September 2021, actually.
21.
Forgot what year it was. Easily done. And September and March, of course, are the big registration months for the industry.
Course.
So everyone's absolutely, plowing away, doing long hours. And the easiest thing in the world is to, order some sort of takeaway, fast food, go to the local bakers and pick up a stuffed roll and, a cake. And that's my downfall, is cakes as well. Belgian buns from Greg's. Other Belgian buns that are available, but theirs are particularly fantastic. And, so what's your, how do we get this message across to, the kind of people who are in the habit of doing that actually would, no disrespect to what you're saying, but could actually, part of them would perhaps sort of laugh at the idea of replacing a large hamburger with a handful of pistachio nuts? Or
okay, I appreciate that pistachio nuts would probably not fill you up in the same way the large burger would. But even if you are going to a supermarket in your lunch break because you are super busy and you don't have the time to prepare, or you don't want to prepare something, you can choose something that is better for you than the well, the ready-made burger. I'm not saying any names.
Yeah.
So for example, if you just fancy something which is a little bit more substantial, get a packet of I don't know, chicken pieces, which are really ready-made. Get a tub of hummus, get a fresh pepper or even a carrot, and munch that all together and fill it in a whole grain pita bread, which is a lot better because it gives you this sustainable energy. The problem of everything like your Greg's, oh sorry, I shouldn't really say that, any sort of any sort of sandwich you're having, it's this quick releasing energy which leaves you craving for more an hour later. And that's when we're falling into this 3 o'clock slump in the afternoon, when only a chocolate bar and a big cup of coffee will do, because our brain is requesting the energy, and because this is the fast releasing energy which just plays havoc with our energy levels. This is what we're trying to avoid. We would like to keep our energy levels high, but even as possible. And we achieve that with healthy fats, with whole grains, and with fruit and vegetables, and not with overly processed carbohydrates. I mean, I'm not telling you any groundbreaking news here. I know that. But sometimes it's just about having the right stuff available. If you just simply have a little sachet of microwave porridge in your drawer, which literally takes 30 seconds in the office microwave if you're working in this pressured environment, you don't need to prepare anything. Bananas last for 5 days if you keep them in a cool environment. It doesn't need to be the fridge, but generally something like that. All fresh vegetables, just something that keeps you going. I'm a massive fan of carrots and hummus because carrots are high in vitamin A, and vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, which needs a little bit of fat for your body to absorb the vitamin A. So if you munch on a carrot without any fat with it, it's really nice, lots of fiber and stuff, but the vitamin A cannot be absorbed in your body without a little bit of fat. So the hummus will provide the fat.
I think, again, without wishing to sound like I'm being disrespectful to any of my colleagues in the industry, because there clearly are, there are huge numbers of people that are heeding the kind of advice that you're talking about. But I'm also very conscious of those numbers of people, and it's probably, maybe younger guys in particular, that this is a mindset thing, because in an environment where you are working 12 hours a day, you're not the one that's going to the supermarket. It could be one of your friends, one of your colleagues, somebody further down the chain, perhaps. And the easiest thing in the world to say to them is when they say, "What do you want me to get you for lunch?" Well, get me a meal deal, which is a sandwich, a chocolate bar, and a bottle of, can of fizzy drink.
Yeah.
So how do we address the mindset of that? Because, I totally hear what you're saying. I think you're absolutely spot on. And I'm, from my friend who told me about almond milk, after today, I'm committed. My repayment to you for coming on the podcast is that I'm going to go and look differently at stuff that I see in the supermarket. But how do we get that across to people whose our habits and mindset are, no, actually, I'll just literally grab the quickest, most convenient thing, and I don't really care if it's not good for me.
Yeah. I appreciate that. One of the issues we have, especially with nutrition and lifestyle, it doesn't work like a paracetamol. It's not that you eat well for one day and the next day you feel like you own the world. That sadly is not the case. But I always invite people to give it a go for 1 week. Reduce the nasty stuff, reduce the sugar, reduce the alcohol. Ooh, there she said it. Reduce the alcohol, Stephen.
To one glass.
To one glass. Oh, careful with that one. Careful with that one. Yeah. Because after a week, you will feel different. And I perfectly understand that there will always be situations where you just say, just leave me alone with healthy eating. I just need a treat now, whatever that treat might be. Honestly, I'll share that with you, and don't tell anybody. But my stress food, and I'm rarely stressed because, well, I shouldn't be, because I should know what I'm doing. But when I'm really having a bad day, my go-to is Haribo's. And
Oh
really,
wow,
I mean,
okay.
this is
Yeah, I get that.
the probably the worst you can think about. It's just pure sugar. But
Do you like
on
the sort of fizzy, sparkly ones, the Tang Fastics, I think they're called?
no, I always go for the good old
The
gold
traditional.
bears.
Right.
But
Oh, well, there you go. You
it's
see,
just,
none of us are perfect.
oh God, no, goodness me, I'm far from perfect. But it's about trying to do the best you can as often as you can. And I'm not saying, I'm not the fun police. I'm not saying you should never have a glass of wine again because, oh, alcohol is bad for you. Yes, of course, we know alcohol is not great for us, but it's like having a piece of cake. It's like it's part of life. But on a daily basis, you will feel better if you live well for a week. And I'm more than happy to share with you a few ideas for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, if you would like to send this to the audience of your podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, if you've got, yeah, absolutely, if you've got a, like a fact sheet or
A
something,
recipe book,
yeah, perfect.
I can,
let me
no,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just about a small little change. Have, I don't know, a bag of almonds in your drawer at your desk, because that will just, instead of reaching for the chocolate bar, reach for the almonds and have a cup of tea with it. I've got loads of recipes where you can literally invest 5 minutes and then it's good to go for the rest of the day.
So to take the edge off the almonds, because they are an acquired taste. What's the?
Are they?
Well, I think so. What about having a handful of sultanas with them or something like that? Is that good?
Oh, that's really good that you asked that. Raisins, sultanas, and all dried fruit are super high in sugar,
Right.
so please don't.
Okay.
Because you can as well eat Haribo's. Honestly, the amount of sugar is exactly the same. The only thing that is slightly better in the sultanas and the raisins is that they are higher in fiber. But in terms of the sugar content, for example, if your favorite muesli says that is no added sugar, read the label on the back. I bet that there's still 20 grams per 100 is still sugar, because it's the raisins in there. And yes, it tastes nice, but it's a lot of sugar. Bearing in mind that 20 grams is almost as much sugar as in a chocolate biscuit. So your muesli, only if it says there's no added sugar, is not that much healthier.
Wow. Okay.
Ooh, there she said it. But let me just finish off in terms of habit forming, because whenever I speak to people, they always say, "Oh, all those foods, that sounds great, and I really like to give it a go." And most people accept that they should move a little bit more and be more active and try some relaxation techniques. But the big question is always, how do I do that? And that's why I always include strategies to help people form new habits.
Right. Taking
small steps, committing, and if necessary, recommitting to their success. And because people are different, there are several strategies that work for different people. Not all strategies work for everybody. Just as an example, creating so-called micro habits, because you bolt them onto an existing routine, that will really help you creating a new routine. As an example, every time your phone rings, get up from your chair and do your call whilst you're standing up, or even walking around a bit. That will increase the blood flow to your brain, and you can actually stretch your hip flexors, because that's the little flexors which sit on your hips, and they really are not happy when you're sitting down for hours. And every time you put your phone down, take a sip of water from the bottle you have on your desk, and 5 calls and your bottle is half empty. It's an easy way to remain hydrated.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the simple fact that we are doing phone calls every day, you can just bolt on those 2 habits. One is standing up, and the other one is taking a sip of water.
Yeah.
Done.
Brilliant.
It's not difficult. It's just about having those ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to put this, give us this fact sheet so we can circulate that. But I mean, if anyone
Absolutely.
can't wait for that, where can they get hold of you then and source the information themselves?
Absolutely. If you would like to know more about my work, please have a look at my website. It's carolabecker.com, first name, last name.com. And you can email me on carola@carolabecker.com. I'm on LinkedIn and all the social media channels. Please just search for me, and you will find me.
Fantastic. Cool. Thank you. Well, I've got to say, you were a great audience member when I did the talk last week or the week before, I think it was. So thank you, because you participated and threw in some questions for me, didn't you? And here we are now. You know, turn the tables, and you've joined me on the podcast. So thank you so much for that. I'm sure that what you've talked about is going to be really useful and helpful for many people.
Brilliant. And if you would like to know more, please feel free to get in touch. I'm always happy to help.
Spot on. Carola, thank you very much indeed. And we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.